This town is in the east of the Tyrol, close to the German border, known as the Pearl of Tyrol, thanks to the famous song of the same name. About 20,000 people live here. Second largest place in the Tyrol. And here's a look back at who has taken the victories. Denmark have the victories over the last 2 years, and the Austrian Felix Gall won in 2015, and a very well-known name, Mathieu van der Poel, in 13.
Johansson just up ahead.
He's gone.
Looking so good, but he's well within sight.
Shoulders aren't even rocking. He is looking absolutely superb. He's already celebrating. Johansson, Denmark, world champion, gives them the victory salute. Johansson takes the gold medal. Looking back then on last year, Julius Johansson taking the victory. Mathieu van der Poel, the winner in 2013. Matty Morich in 2012. Johan Le Bon in 2008. So some well-known previous winners of this race. Last year was Johansson ahead of Luca Rastelli and Michele Gazzoli in third place, as all the teams sign on ready for the race. Today we're going to do a gentle lap through the town centre. Then the riders leave Kufstein heading west where the racing begins. Signing on then, Søren Verdensgold. Starting from Kufstein, this course takes the riders through the town and then along the length of the Inn Valley to Innsbruck. The section from Schwarz to Bad Haring is difficult. The Angerbird climb should not be underestimated. It will be quite a difficult climb. Then they go over to Nadenwald, that gradient of 14%. Into the circuit, the Olympic circuit in Innsbruck, which we saw earlier on. And they're going to do 2 laps of the Olympic circuit of 23.8 kilometres to complete today's 131.8 kilometres of racing.
World champions.
As always, the bikes being rolled out. This is showing you how the junior gears are checked, and this is them scanning the bikes for any problems. This is the commissaires panel yet again. The same commissaires have been looking after all these world championships.
Die Anmeldung zu diesem UCI-Straßenrennen der Junioren und werden danach auch ganz kurz zu uns kommen.
Here's the team from the United States of America. The Belgians are here. And the rider everyone is thinking about is this guy, Remco Evenepoel, who won the time trial with an absolutely domination of that ride. The big question is, what's he like in a road race? Well, he's ridden 42 races, 43 now, and he's won 33 of them. So we'll see if he can produce the same sort of form today to take today's victory. Another medalist there, Luke Plamp on the left-hand side for Australia. And the Austrians will be feeling super motivated after seeing their teammate win earlier on today in the junior women's race. It was the best junior race I think I've ever watched. As we fade away from Kufstein Castle, let's take a look at the run-through of the various riders. That Belgian team with Remco Evenepoel. He's the rider that everyone's looking at, and we wonder whether he is beatable at all. The American team there with a nice lineup. Riley Sheehan and Michael Garrison, that we all take part in the individual time trial. Germany with Michael Hessmann. The French team always strong in the junior ranks. We saw Pierre-Henri Le Cuisinier take the victory in 2011. Kazakhstan with their squad, and the Czech Republic then. Peter Clement is a possible rider who might go in the major moves today. There's the Dutch squad. They missed out in the women's race. Switzerland with a good lineup. And there's the Canadian team again. I'm sure motivated after this morning, seeing their teammate Simone Boyard take a medal. That's Great Britain's team with Ben Tullett, the world champion of cyclocross. A big field taking to the race start. There's Australia with Luke Platt. 159 riders on the start line today. Ireland with a strong lineup too. Luxembourg with a couple of riders. Mexico, Rwanda again, of course, with Jean-Eric Habimana. We talked a lot about him the other day. And that's the final riders in that 120 stakes. Then we move through to 130. It's going to be a big peloton, the rollout of the race start today. South Africa with Ricardo Broxham and also Kian Leveridge. Kosovo and Moldova, and those countries are on that final list. Looking down then on Kufstein as the peloton line up, ready to roll out. So we're going to do this lap of the city. Underway then for the Men's Junior World Championship. Kufstein Castle there on the left-hand side. Started constructing it in 1522. The Emperor's Tower has gone on to be the symbol of Kufstein. That 800-year-old fortress is now a covered arena for events. It hosts a museum and the world's largest open-air organ, played every day at 12 o'clock. Huge peloton of riders making their way out of the race start, the little loop, and then the race will start. Kufstein, a popular university town now, around 1,800 regular students and 200 exchange students from 50 countries. Currently study at the Volksschule Kufstein. We've had some bike racing here before. In 2017, Kufstein hosted the start of the Tour of the Alps. Took the riders through the regions of Tyrol, South Tyrol and Trentino. There's lots of climbing, and actually we, in the Tour of the Alps, went over the mountain climb that we see today. Took the riders in the Tour of the Alps, the fastest time 16 minutes from the base of the climb to 1,032 metres above sea level, where we just saw the attacks today of the riders who went for the medals. So the peloton working its way around the traffic islands and forming and reforming. Not hanging around though. There's a few riders taking slightly the wrong way. I think they realised that roundabout is quite so big. That rider took the wrong turn round there and ended up going from nearly the front of the peloton to the back of the peloton with that manoeuvre. Not something you want to do too much. There he goes, off to the right-hand side. A couple of riders taken to the traffic island. We've got an onboard camera today on Ricardo Broxham from South Africa. There we are. Gives you a little bit of an indication of what it's like. Nice little shots here with these onboard cameras. Gives you a real sense of what it's like in the middle of this peloton right now. People moving up all the time. That's why you have to have this real sense of where you are in a peloton. It can feel like a washing machine. You have to stay near the front, little pinch points, but if you lose your concentration you can go from the front of the peloton all the way to the back in literally a minute and a half. Looks like we've got a little bit of a hold up as the riders make their way through this little technical section. I don't know if there was a crash, but there was certainly a couple of touches of wheels. Oops, and now there is a crash where people have just fallen over. A few riders held up. One of them is Renes Uruiwi of Rwanda. There he is, wearing number 109. Not a problem there for the Japanese rider. Looks like everyone's getting safely on. A little bit of stress from these riders. Taisai Ino of Japan getting underway. So that little pinch point always creates issues. It won't be the first tumble we see today. Or it won't be the last one, even if it's the first one. It's all congested through here as we get everything going. Once we get out onto the main road, then things will be a little bit better. Nice wide road now. We wait for the race start. Commissar has a disc out of the window. And the peloton all behind the car then, as a few riders just sprint to get back on. Any moment now this race is going to start, and then we'll start to find out who is going to animate the race. Some of the bigger teams might decide to put riders up the road. Let's hope we have as good a race as we had in the women's junior race, because that was one of the best juniors races I've ever seen, if not the best. Coming up to kilometre 0. And the peloton all behind the cars. So is Remco Evenepoel going to be dominant in this race, or will some of the other teams manage to take him apart? He's such hot property. Everyone is expecting that he'll win this race. But is he going to? He said, I don't want to be compared to Merckx. I want to be myself, which is true for a youngster. But he's from Belgium, and they are so excited about him. It's getting even a little bit more pressured. His girlfriend, a full page about her going to university in the Belgian press already. It is reaching crazy situation, and he's only a junior. So a problem here for the Costa Rican rider. See the stress. Luis Murillo of Costa Rica. So just before kilometre 0, a few little issues. The race will be held. These juniors are like caged lions at the moment. They just want to get going, but only when all the riders are in the peloton will the race start. The start then being held as we wait for the Costa Rican rider to come back, Luis Esteban Murillo. He's in the cars, he's almost behind a doctor's car, as you can see. Doctor's car, always a convertible. The main commissaire waiting with a radio, just waiting for the last instruction that he's returned. So there's one rider from Serbia still out of the back. Everyone looking around at each other. They want to get this race underway. They'll have been getting themselves focused and ready all morning. And now they've been let loose. Nearly there then. Here he comes, the Serbian rider. This is Kolesnic, Admir Kolesnic on his way back. He's got a little bit of riding to go to get back into this peloton, but he's working his way through the cars. South African team rider there, we could just see. That's Ricardo Broxham with a team who have got the camera on. So you'll almost be able to see the rider come back into the peloton from his race camera. Lovely clear pictures considering where we are. Here we go now, this race is underway. Underway then, 130.2 kilometres to go. Let's see then what happens. Whether we're going to get some breakaways or whether the junior men ride a little bit more carefully. Remember, the race distance is a bit further than we saw the junior women ride. Looks like we've got a couple of riders wanting to get up to the front. The American riders are packing a few in at the front there. They clearly want to stay out of any trouble. Spanish represented in the yellow and red kit. Belgium represented. Everyone looking after each other, which is good news, showing them that there is a traffic island coming up. You do have to, in bike racing, look after each other. whilst it's flat-out bike racing, there's still dangers ahead, and it's good to look after your fellow competitors. So we're going to race through Schwarz now, past the Pendling Mountain and almost 800 metres high, the Voda Kopfel Hill. A little bit of climb coming up now. Oops, and a little bit of coming together. No major problems. And one rider having a little bit more of a problem. It looked to me like Ciprian Gitaro of Romania. The Shimano guys are going to be very busy this afternoon. So many other riders, when they have a problem, get the chain jammed now. Oops, nearly took his head off. Such a big peloton. We're going to see more and more of this until things calm down and settle down over the coming hour or so. So getting the chain back on, whoops, and he was safely back into the peloton. Number 2 there, Jakob Hinskal Madsen, a problem for him. Looks like a possible puncture. Just feels a bit hectic right now, doesn't it, as far as this race is concerned. The Germans come to the front to stay out of any trouble. That's what you're always told in this level of racing. Stay at the front. That's all you're told. Stay at the front, stay out of trouble. Stay at the front, stay out of trouble. That's all the coaches drill into you. Because if you ride near the back, you see sometimes, you watch some rider like Stephen Cummings, for example, rides on the back of the peloton all the time. But he can do that. He knows how to do it. It's his way of riding. He's quite safe. There's significantly fewer crashes and problems in pro racing than there is at this level. He knows he can sit on the back. He knows that people aren't going to leave gaps. And he's good enough that when there's crosswinds or something, he knows he needs to be at the front and he'll find his way to the front. In this level of racing, your gears are restricted, so when you're flat out, you're flat out. You can't go any quicker. And when things are going wrong at the back of the peloton, they go seriously wrong. So you really cannot sit near the back of the group. It's just not a good idea at any occasion at all. Coming back then, the Danish rider, Jakob Hinskal Madsen. He's done this before, safely around all the cars, just using them for a little bit of slipstream. The next point on the horizon is the little town of Bad Haring, where we head slightly uphill. It's Tyrol's first spa village. Lots of visitors go there. They're drawn to Bad Haring by the healing waters of the natural sulphur spring. So as you ride past here, I'm sure it's got a lovely odour. But the local, in all seriousness, rehabilitation centre specialises in spinal injuries, head trauma. Professional athletes come to Bad Haring as part of injury recovery processes. And that's where we're heading now as we go uphill. Ricardo Broxham giving us some nice shots at the back of the peloton. Little attack at the front. Riders from the USA and Denmark getting involved in some skirmishes. The Australians also towards the front of the peloton. Just riders testing each other out. The rider's starting to suffer at the back. Well, this is the rider who had the mechanical problem. And this is it. If you're not in the peloton, you really suffer. If you're in the peloton, you get carried along. The slipstream helps. You are surrounded by other people, so you feel confident. You are able to pedal. Suddenly, if you're out the back by literally 10-20 seconds, your morale is either shot or it's good, and you come back or you don't come back. So it's very important to just stay there and stay in the cluster, stay in the peloton. As Jeffrey Diaz from Puerto Rico is getting dropped. He's found that little climb a little bit too much. So a few riders already have disappeared. You can see 3 riders out of the back, then another group of 4. As we wind our way through this beautiful area. Bad Haring just in the distance. And Poland setting the tempo on the front in the red and white, with Germany just behind in their usual colours. 70 k's an hour as we make our way downhill. Really fast tempo, isn't it, at the front? Look at that, the length of the peloton. 159 riders who started. We've lost a couple, so around 157 riders in that string. Impressed at the way the winner of the junior women's race, how she rode through the corners, the way she took the turns. You could tell that she was really at home on her bike. As this rider's trying to come back for Denmark, Jakob Inskol Madsen. He's chasing hard, he's still in the convoy, but he's never made it back into the safety of the peloton where he needs to be. Germany setting the pace right now on the front. Thanks very much to everyone who has messaged in over the last few days of racing. If you'd like to message, at UCI_cycling or at Ant McCrossan is where you can join me. Give me your predictions. Which junior man is going to win? Laura Stigger was the winner of the women's race. Not far from Kirchbickel now. We've gone through Bad Haring. And Germany still looking very comfortable on the front. The Thai rider Bangsiri has just been dropped to the back of the peloton. Looking to try and get back in, and the Moldovan rider. That's Korotas trying to get back into the peloton as quickly as possible. Number 5 there, and that is Frederick Thompson. Whoops, he's not feeling good today. Don't know what's happened to him. Maybe a bit of sickness. He's not a happy man. And to be fair, you shouldn't really be doing that, Frederick, no matter how unhappy you are. Throwing bottles into the vegetation is just not a good thing. Still look to be going okay at that point. There's a real issue at the moment with, as far as I'm concerned, with throwing wrappers and recycling in bike racing. And that example of that young junior is not a good example. The pros are now starting to do something about it. You could see it was Bram Tankink, I think, who messaged on Twitter the other day, because he said he'd been going through the peloton and talking to young riders about why they were throwing their gel wrappers and bottles in places that they couldn't be picked up. Insel Madsen saying to his teammate Frederick Thompson, who had a little bit of an anger moment, get back in the peloton and get on with it. Whoops. Rwandan rider just stopping there before without signalling to the TV motorbike, but luckily they're always got their wits about them, and he's about to get back in. So, having lost the plot for a moment, Frederick Thompson is about to get back into the peloton with his teammate Jakob Inskol Madsen, who was 10th in 2017 and who is making his way back into the group. Amazing what a bit of teamwork can do. Nathan, thanks for your message. You feel like Karol Wacek will win today? Evenepoel is the guy that everyone thinks is going to win. Karol Wacek riding for the Czech Republic, wearing number 52. We'll keep an eye on him. Nathan, let's see whether you think he wins or whether he wins. David Williams, Carter Turnbull will win the Worlds. So your predictions are starting to come in. Carter Turnbull wearing number 96, riding for Australia. Comes from In From Make, the team, and from Australia. So David, thanks for your prediction. Give me your predictions. Who's going to win these Junior World Championships? Is it going to be the man that everyone's talking about, Remco Evenepoel, or are we going to see something else happen? Is it going to be a proper bike race where Remco actually is taken out of the race by tactics? Is it going to be the strongest man that wins? Will someone use their own tactical nous to beat him and show us that bike racing isn't just about being the strongest and the best time trialist? That's the intriguing part of what is going to go on today. Germany on the front, 118 kilometres to go. They look like they're riding well together on the front of the group. As they make their way past more little places at the side of the road, they are currently heading towards Kirchbichel. In fact, we've just gone past there. Next place on the horizon is Marienstein, and we'll go past Marienstein Castle It's perched right up above the village itself. So the tempo is nice and steady. Looking back at one of the Australian riders there, Ricardo Broxham, still with his camera on. It's working really well at this moment in time. Technology to do this is quite difficult. You've basically got to have the antenna that can take the signal straight from here. And the little antenna's got to be strong enough to take the signal, to be able to take it to a point so then they can transmit it upwards, which takes it to their plane, and then it's bounced back down to the outside broadcast unit and then into the outside broadcast unit. It's mixed into the whole system and then sent back out via satellite to all of us watching. And it has to do that in a split second, so it's got to be really working well. Dane Tribe, Ricardo Broxham for the win. Winner of the 2018 Tour of Ireland, of course. He's the one with the camera on. So the South African is the rider that some of you want to have as a winner. So Dane Tribe and Gerald Francis. Also Dylan Geary. He's got his whole fan club here. Keith McRae can't see past Remco Evenepoel. Everyone's tried. But so far, it hasn't worked. The German team still setting the pace. You would have expected, really, that all the other nations would try and get the Belgian team to do the work so that they isolate Remco Evenepoel and then try and work him over, which we all know is really going to be tough, but it's worth a go. This is the castle I was talking about. This is Mariastein. It's a pilgrimage church, snow white on the top of the hillside, built in the 14th century. Oh, a little bit of a crash here. A couple of riders have hit the deck, and one of them is Andrea Piccolo. Look at that. I'll be riding that again. Pretty buckled. And Andrea Piccolo, of course, medalist in the time trial. Safely getting a new wheel then from the Italian mechanic. Shimano also helping out another rider. 115 kilometers to go. And Andrea Piccolo is underway. So that church is a church of pilgrimage. It was turned into a church of pilgrimage in the 18th century. Most of the pilgrims keen to see the image of the Madonna in its Chapel of Mercy, which the riders are now racing past. 116 kilometers to go, 115.6. And a problem here for one of the Norwegian riders. This is Fredrik Finnesand. Front wheel puncture. There's been a few punctures now in this race. We hardly saw any in the women's race. As we race past more animations, Ho Salve welcoming all the riders. This rider there at the back of the group, suffering, thinking he's about to get dropped. Then the crash happens, everyone slows down, and he'll probably be able to get into a wheel. Andrea Piccolo completely folded that front wheel, look at that. Nothing too much left of that carbon rimmed wheel. The spoke's pretty wrecked. You can see just everyone locking the bikes up. It's interesting that the South African rider, Broxham, sits very close to the back all the time, so we are getting to see so many of the crashes that are going on his camera. Hendrik Lemmer, Vacek to win. Emilia, Remco to win, Vacek second, and Fancello of Italy to complete. Alessandro Fancello to complete the podium. Brandon Miller, Ricardo Broxham to take the victory. Benjamin wants Carter Turnbull to win, and he will give Remco a run for his money. Rudy Porter also, Sea Dog to win. Carter Turnbull to take the victory. Vacek, a lot of people looking for Vacek. Anakin and Thomas also would like Carter Turnbull to take the victory today. 114 kilometres to go. Remember, we're going to work our way all the way down into Innsbruck, then we do 2 laps of the Olympic circuit. Still Germany setting the tempo on the front of the race. So one rider trying to get back, Frederick Finnesand. Piccolo is already back in the pack, so he's riding well. No problems for him. Andrea Piccolo, a very strong rider, riding very well, and returns to the peloton without any problems at all. Amazing to see the difference with some of the more experienced junior riders, the way they ride this race and how they easily can come back into the race at this sort of time without any problems at all. They're not really thinking about any concerns. They just think, okay, I've had a problem, now I need to get a wheel change, then I'll come back. Still Germany setting the tempo. United States of America there, problem for the Serbian rider, Dorda Duric. Losing the wheels of the peloton. It's very early to be left behind. Yeah, another bottle thrown into the vegetation. Canada now at the front of the peloton. Canadian team today: Ben Katterberg, Connor Martin, Carson Miles, Robin Plamondon, Thomas Schellenberg. That's a Canadian team. I'm sure seeing Simone Broyard be the rider who took the medal in the junior category for women would have given them a little bit of renewed enthusiasm. Erika Sidlukas being dropped for Lithuania. Now we're on to the climb. Little rise here. We're going to go up to Angerberg. Here in Angerberg we have the Hundaum Ice Cave. It's very, very cold. 122 steps lead visitors down into the ice cave. You get stalagmites and ice formations up to 350,000 years old. It's a constant 0 degrees all year round. It's a tourist attraction, and we are just racing past that. It's around 24 degrees outside. Number 9, trying to come back, Finisand. He's almost back in the peloton. Those legs must be hurting after that chase. Joining up with the Romanian rider, Valentin Velusu. At the back of the group, Germany still setting the pace. The German team today: Permin Benz, Felix Engelhardt, Jakob Gessner, Kim Heiduk, Michael Hessmann, Marius Meyerhofer. 21 kilometres of racing now covered. So they've just gone over that little climb. They're going to hit the climb at Nadenwald at around 60 kilometres. Then they're going to make their way up that climb, down the other side, onto the circuit, and then 2 laps, of course, with 2 climbs up to Eagles, and then the run into the finish in Innsbruck. So another 40k until they reach the major obstacle, that big climb that we saw all the damage done in the junior women's race. So Germany quite happy to set a tempo for now. Doesn't look like anyone is prepared to attack and go away. They're rolling along at 46k an hour. The Czech Republic come up to the front. Kazakhstan come up with the turquoise and yellow kit there on the right hand side. The Netherlands also represented. A couple of teams who don't really want to go anywhere near the front at the moment, including Great Britain. Belgium not doing too much riding near the front either. There's a few nations who will they'll just hide in here. They know that they need to find a way to beat Remco Evenepoel. We haven't seen him ride up a mountain like this. Well, I certainly have never seen him ride up a mountain like this, so it will be very interesting to see whether he can climb in the way that some of the other pure climbers will be able to. Coming back then, number 9, Fredrik Finisand. He's almost there. He goes past the team car of the United States of America. Even although from the motorbike shot it looks like things are nice and easy right now, rolling along at 50k an hour when you're trying to come back is not easy at all. Aidan Geary wants Ricardo Broxham and Kian Leveridge to produce a good ride today. Charles Malsalt, why are Germany setting the tempo? I don't know. No idea at all. Surely it's down to Belgium, who are by far the race favourites. Coach Justin, thank you for clarifying that the bottle was thrown to a fan at the side of the road. I didn't see them there, so I take that back. Near Ricardo, who's just feathering the brakes as he makes his way downhill. His teammate just behind him. Very fast little section here at 107.7 kilometres. The two South Africans riding pretty close together. You can see the way the riders at the back, well, you're just getting sucked along, but now and then you just need to put the pressure on. They're almost out of gears, and you just need to just try and stay in there, feathering the pedals over and keeping in the slipstream as much as possible. Meanwhile, if you haven't got enough pace, you'll go out the back, although I don't think the Australian rider there on the right-hand side has got too much to worry about. Frederick Finnesand returns to the peloton. There he is on the right-hand side. So he'll work his way through and he'll try to go back up to the front. Daniel Turek of Belarus is now the rider right on the back. Heading into Breitenbach am Inn. 3,500 people live here. It's the home of the Perchenlauf, an annual event in early spring, where most young men in the village put on wooden masks and depict devilish beings and march through the village to drive away the evil spirits of winter. Well, these young men have got their masks on, generally shades and a poker face, as they get ready for action later on in today's race. Great Britain moving up with some riders on the left-hand side of the road. As we look at them, United States of America also. Haven't seen anything of Remco Evenepoel yet. And here's the German team still on the front of the peloton. Let's take a look here from the helicopter. What's happening here? And oops, look at that rider straight through the middle of the roundabout and back into the peloton. If you're going to take a shortcut, you might as well go straight on. 105k to go. Thanks for all the predictions. Thanks for all your thoughts. Generally, a few names been mentioned. Remco, Carter as well, being mentioned a lot. Ricardo Broxham and also Varcek. Charles Marsault says victory for Varcek, maybe Barmer and Asheim, the top three, and no Remco in the top three. That's a brave thought on today's race. Now we get a little bit of a move, and Belgium are starting to set a little bit of a harder tempo. Two riders going out the back, 128 and 129, both at the same time. So the Azerbaijan riders, Najev Bakarov and Shahin Ivazov, trying to come back into the race as the road goes slightly uphill again. Italy moving up with some riders on the right-hand side, and some of you have mentioned that we could see Alessandro Fancellu take the victory. We've also got Gabriele Benedetti, Marco Frigo, Andrea Piccolo and Samuel Rubino are the members of the team. Venkov of Bulgaria being dropped now. Well, Belgium look to be now starting to set things up a little bit. That's quite early. Italy looking pretty comfortable. Seemingly Belgium are quite happy to sacrifice some riders now. Luis Murillo of Costa Rica being dropped. Oh, you've got to be feeling here for Frederick Finnesand. He's been dropped, he's got back on, now he's being dropped again. He had that mechanical problem. You really want him just to get into the safety of the peloton so he can just stay there. Once we get inside the 100 Ks to go points, we'll start to see this race start to transform a little bit. Remember that we have got the main climb on the run-in towards the finish, where we go up over the main climb on the run-in, and then of course we go onto the Olympic circuit. But Nadenwald is the main place. We go through Schwarz up over the climb. We'll have covered 60k then. And a problem here for Louis Barr. Front wheel puncture. Amazing how many more punctures there are today in this particular race. I don't know whether it's because there are so many riders in the peloton, so you're having to ride in the gravel or not. Well, the broom wagon's already getting pretty busy. I've heard that Korotas of Moldova's dropped out. Bangsiri of Thailand has also dropped out, as we get a front wheel replacement for Louis Barr. Seemed to be quite calm then. Didn't seem to be too stressed about what he was having to do as he gets himself back on the bike and gets himself going. Still the pace being set by Belgium and Germany. Irish rider at the back there on the right hand side. Be interesting to see when we get to this climb. We're coming up towards Kramsach. We're about 2 kilometers away from Kramsach itself. This is a long straight. Not far from the Tyrol Farmstead Museum. And in fact, when we get to Kramsach itself, it's the home village of Thomas Roriger, who's the course designer. He's commentating 2 cabins down from me at the moment. He's very pleased that the organisers have decided to go for this route that he chose. He got criticised quite a lot for the route decisions that he made, but so far we've seen some great time trials, and I think we're going to see some great road races, judging by what we saw earlier. He rode, of course, for the Elkhaus Simplon team. He won the Tour of Austria. He joined the Milram team. He rode for Radio Shack Leopard, and he retired from racing in 2013. here in Kramsash. There's rock faces, some great lakes as well.